been requested to participate in a global professional English teacher interview and to answer some educational related questions. So here I am. To tell you a bit about myself, I'm an English teacher and a communication coach. I've been teaching English for about 8 years now, and through this time I had the pleasure of going through different methods of teaching and with diverse institutions and worked with multicultural boards. Through these experiences, I taught students from various backgrounds of different levels, ages, from kids, teenagers, adults to even elderlies. And I have learned so much from them as I had the pleasure to teach as well. If you'd like to know more about me, I do have a YouTube channel you can check out, and also a Facebook page, so go subscribe and you will see more of me. That being said, let's go straight into the questionnaire. Question number 1 says, what attributes do you see in the most successful students? I would say ambition, but also dedication, which originally stems from passion. Therefore, what I've mostly noticed in my outstanding students is that they often feed on the drive to success, or to be able to be good at something. Basically, it's not to fail. And I believe they get that from the love and keenness for the language. They dedicate themselves to the betterment of their skills, not because they have to, but because they want to. It's the desire from within to not only have it, but also to excel at it and master it. That passion fuels dedication and generates ambition and reluctantness, not just to learn English, but also to be English wherever they may be from. Second question says, under ideal conditions, how long does it take until you see notable improvements in your students? I mean, that's a very fluctuating process. Since it varies from one student to another, it also depends on their mental capacities, the level they started with, their age, the learning environment, and their schedule as well. So there is never a set value or timeline to which they all abide, but considering my professional postgrads and elderly one-on-one clients, I would say it usually takes between 1 to 3 months to see noticeable progress. Again, depending on number of sessions per week, etc. But often around 3 months period. By then, it's they can all read, write, speak properly with better grasp of grammar, language, and pronunciation. Next question says, suggest one activity a student can do at home to improve their speaking. Well, I usually ask my students to either try communicating with someone at home who can or is learning to speak English for both motivation and practice purposes, but mostly I advise them to read a passage of any material out loud and recording it on their phone. It's kind of like a speech or a monologue, whether they've written it themselves or read it from a book. And I usually ask them to do this task after I've already tackled pronunciation and phonetic rules, so they can better notice the defaults and mistakes when listening to themselves, which proves to be a great method for students to correct themselves as if they were reteaching the rules or relearning them. This method is basically an autocorrect method that allows the mind to base the reception of that voice clip on the algorithm that is the given rules that they know, and correct the mistakes that don't apply. Thus, by repeating such task, it often autocorrects itself into the desired pronunciation heard beforehand, whether in our sessions or in movies. So it basically delineates the students' pronunciation skills through the auditory perception. So yeah, it's kind of an audio autocorrect method. Next question. Suggest one activity a student can do to improve their vocabulary. I would say reading. When I was first learning English, my dictionary was based on movies and books, so basically stories, because stories teach English from a context point of view, and therefore a new vocabulary is absorbed while being entertained, and sometimes students are even unaware of the learning process behind it until they are able to use those words in random speech from memory. It's also quite fun and fast. I often call it the baby method because when babies are born, they're not technically taught the language, especially at early stages. They merely observe until a point where their mind just apprehends the language and use it back. So like babies in early stages of learning, reading, observing and listening are the fastest methods to retain the most useful dictionary. So next question says, give me one advice for adult learners. One thing I often see my adult learners struggling with is their ability to unlearn everything they think they knew or they were taught at a young age. And that was obviously misguided or just not working for them. I often spend most early sessions just helping them forget and relearn the language all over again. Thus, correcting past mistakes is hardest for adults because as we grow older, we just believe we know it all, so we refuse to be wrong, especially about something we think we learned as children. Being from Tunisia, English is our third language, so therefore most professionals have learned it at some point in their lives. Still, they come to me because they seek mastery of the language. That was unfortunately not provided in old school systems. We do learn the rules, we read, we answer questions, we sit for exams, and a lot of people might relate when I say this. English was never a language to be spoken as much as it was to be taught and learned in a classroom setting. So when it's time to use it in the real world, their diction jar often comes out empty. So my advice is to just forget the English you think you know and learn the English you need to know to be able to speak it and use it in everyday working or traveling situations. And I have to say, this is mostly the struggle I have with ESP learners. The next question says, is grammar an important part of your class? Not really. I mean, it's embedded in the learning process, especially with the basic knowledge of past, present, future. I always make sure my students have a mastery of the irregular verbs and their usage, but I don't really emphasize on rules and memorization rather than practicalities and the ability to both comprehend and be able to communicate with the language. Still, this depends on the setting and the needs of the clients, whether it was for communication purposes or academic ones. I still do have to tackle curriculum-based lessons when teaching in schools, although I do try to keep it light and experimental, just fun, for the sole purpose of keeping that passion alive and that modern short attention span just hooked in. And this usually bodes better results than constantly just giving grammar intense lessons. Following question says, do you have any major influences in regards to your teaching style? process. I do believe no matter what age, background, or purpose these people are learning English for, or purpose these people are seeking the knowledge of English, nobody signed up for a boring traditional classroom scenario. It also has been proven to be less proactive and productive than modern approaches. So my motto is to teach while having fun. Students are more susceptible to learning when it involves activities and engaging tasks that not only develop their mastery of the language, but further deepens their love for it. Therefore, they're often encouraged to be present, to participate and give back triple what they've been given. Also, this style encourages solo research and learning outside the classrooms, and learning outside the classroom or session setting, where students embark on their own journey to find and receive information even when the teacher is not around. This method is embedded in them to become their own teachers and to spread the passion, as they do often want everybody around them to just join in the process. Next question. How long did it take for you to feel comfortable in front of a class? Well, my mom was a kindergarten teacher, so from an early age, I did have the exposure to being in a classroom and having to manage a group of kids and students, but my first proper class experience, which was both traumatizing and life-changing for me, was at the age of 21, when I was asked to teach a classroom of postgrads, of whom the youngest was like 25. So the looks I had on that first session, let me tell you, the questions targeting my authority and the ability and my ability to teach these people who were clearly older and much more experienced than I was, to be able to teach them something they don't know is just wasn't acceptable for them. But I guess my fear was justified, considering the judgmental gazes they gave me. Yeah, once I started uttering the words they thought they knew and just made them my own, I asked them to introduce themselves, gave them the techniques on how to better their pronunciation skills. It really just made a huge difference, and they just trusted me and followed my lead, until by the end of this 3 months training, these very people became good friends and threw me this appreciation graduation ceremony, and with all the gifts and cakes and glamour, it was epic. It was really good, and I never felt more appreciated and accomplished. Even though I did reach more heights afterwards and higher accomplishments, I think something about it being my first class and the biggest challenge I had thus far had somehow made it so special. So if I was looking at it time-wise, I would say it took me about 15 minutes to be comfortable in front of my first class. But I must say, with every change of school, institution, or even client, there is often a bit of fear or nervousness of the challenging newness, and this usually just fades away once the ice is broken and a mild friendship is built. The following question says, what can you do to improve your teaching method? To improve my teaching methods, I think I would love to try more of online lessons. I did it before, but not for long, and I just want to be able to follow up with students after their training is over, and to keep them engaged, as well as being invested in their progress even after the sessions are over. Also, maybe do some research into into innovative methods of learning, maybe come up with new and fun activities I can mix up with my usual process, and just make it more versatile, which would also keep me tuned in and refreshed from just having to do the same thing over and over again. We all know monotony usually kills the passion for learning, and therefore I need to fuel my passion for advancement and progress and just, keep moving forward. Next question says, do you have any professional goals for 2020? 2020, I had so many hopes for this year. Although it might not have started on the best note, this time out has actually given me the opportunity to further develop my plans and come up with new strategies. Haven't tried the whole private schools, kindergarten, organization work, adults teaching, private classes, etc. I believe it's my time now to take it further. So I would like to open my own language center, through which I would like to implement those crazy ideas I have tried and the ones I wanted to try over the years. Create place for my students to practice English, a space we're unfortunately lacking here in Tunisia. So rather than just teaching the language, I'd like my center to be a breath of fresh air, where friends, learners and English lovers can just meet to practice what they've learned and share their common keenness and love for the knowledge, for English and for excellence in general. Still working on the implications of it, but my clients and the parents' encouragements to take this idea further to the next level and is actually giving me the motivation I need to take it to realization, and hopefully it would be as great as imaginable. Next question says, what improvements would you like to see in the English educational field? I would love it if English education was more inclusive of different methodologies, but mostly I'd want to see English learners encouraged to use what they've learned and in projects and everyday settings. It's not enough to learn something if you don't get to use it. As languages often go, if not used, they are merely forgotten. So also I would love to see English teachers being evaluated on their spoken skills before throwing into the real world. I hate to see another generation of English learners imitating various pronunciation without having the knowledge of proper phonetic rules and believing the English they know is the only version there is, which is not. If we expect our students to have proper English level, our teachers should be held to the same standards, and I hope in the upcoming years this progression comes to fruition. So I think that was our last question. Thank you guys for watching. I hope I haven't made this lengthy for you, and I hope these answers could help some of you find their way into developing their passion to teach the English language or following their dream of just learning it. Either ways, remember, if there is a will, we make a way. Follow your passions, and hope to see you soon in a better day. Thank you for watching again. I hope you enjoyed it. Go subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of me. Be kind to one another, spread the love, and I hope to see you soon. Have a nice day. Love you guys. Bye. Bye.
And remember, if there is a will, we make a way. I'll see you guys next time. Stay tuned.
Like and subscribe. Yes, subscribe. Smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn the post notifications on, and we'll see you guys next time.
And go subscribe and hit the bell button, and we'll see you you guys next time. Bye!